Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, ji ayanu, goedemorgen.
Pakhair Ragale, Ni Hao, Tune Shumme, Washmale, Ohio, Gonzaimes, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifa Hal, Hale Shuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasalan, Marhaba, Buna, Washmale. And ladies and gentlemen, for everybody who's out there, I think this is a special good morning for everybody who's out there but cannot listen to us today. It happens to be 23rd of September, and here is how I'm going to say good morning to all of those people who cannot hear.
Perfect.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning into PTV World. You watching World this morning. My name happens to be Shahzad Khan, and with me, I have somebody who early in the morning asked me whether I look like a Pied Piper or not. Miss Shiza Hashmi. Hello, Shiza. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
But you do not. You look stunning, just like always.
Thank you so much. You too. But what about you? How's your morning so far?
Well, I think my morning is great so far, and it's because of the fact that the kind of work we will be doing today, and it has to do quite a lot with raising awareness about sign languages, ladies and gentlemen. Why? In the first place, is something which Ms. Shiza Hashmi will let us know. Please go ahead. Tell us what are we doing today. It happens to be 23rd of September, 2020. What is so special about 23rd September?
Right. So ever since 2 years ago, the United Nations declared this specific day to be celebrated internationally and dedicated to actually sign languages, developing sign languages, spreading awareness about sign languages, how important, absolutely important it is. When you talk about realizing the basic human rights, when you talk about language, Shahzad, this is a basic human right. I mean, if you didn't have Urdu or if you didn't know English, how would you communicate to anyone, right?
Exactly.
So imagine for the people who are probably deaf or impaired in any way, who cannot interpret normal languages like we do, sign language is their natural language, as is, like I said, Urdu, as is, like I said, English as well. So today happens to be the day when we are here to educate you all along with ourselves, because this is a learning process as well.
Exactly.
I really hope this show actually brings out something fruitful for everyone out there as well. One more important thing to which we will obviously talk in detail as well, just a little small detail I'll give out. This was last week when the cabinet sat down and declared that Pakistan needs to have a national sign language. How brilliant is that, right?
Exactly. And this is something, ladies and gentlemen, which is required as well. But let me, just say my thank you to Shiza Hashmi. Thank you very much for actually introducing the topic to all of our wonderful viewers out there as well. Ladies and gentlemen, today it happens to be International Day of Sign Languages. But on this day, I think that there's a very important message which needs to come across as well, and that is that the World Federation of Deaf is actually issuing a global leaders challenge where they're actually requesting all the global leaders to actually kind of promote sign languages as well. And not just that, Shiza, the most interesting part over here is, first of all, I'm very glad, I'm very thankful that you've actually said that, that sign language is no different than Urdu, English, or any other language anybody else speaks. So it has the same status in the first place. But there is an international sign language as well, which people use within conferences and wherever they go all over the world. So to promote sign language, the World Federation of Deaf has actually issued this challenge, which says that the leaders are actually supposed to promote the sign language.
Right. And Shahzad, when you look at the 2030 agenda for the world moving together, right, it says leave no one behind. And this is the only way we can actually, in real terms, make that happen as well. We have to really make everything inclusive in terms of, I mean, imagine, okay, this is just a small example, but you really have to put yourself in those shoes. Imagine you went to a restaurant, or imagine you went for shopping, and no one there spoke your language. How excluded would you feel? Right? I mean, it's not fair for someone to be a part of the society, to have the right to vote, to have, the life and the traits of an equal human being right next to them, but not be able to communicate with people because people don't know sign language.
Exactly.
So we definitely are, I want to say, at fault here. We need to learn. And, well, let's begin the conversation because
just before we get started, there's this one feeling which I think I would love to share with all of those people who are out there as well, because being in Pakistan, and growing up, I think that there's one thing which I've always witnessed, that whenever you're actually going to be in between Pashtuns, no matter what happens, they're actually going to speak in Pashto as well. And you feel kind of left out as well. And one way or the other, I've had arguments over this, with my friends as well, that, this is something which you guys shouldn't be doing. But they're like, oh, we take pride in our language. Everybody does. But once you're sitting with somebody who actually does not know the language you speak, please make sure that you speak a language which everybody else can understand, so that they do not have this in in their subconscious that they might be talking about me. You know, this is something which people don't want. But very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, to get started, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by people over here who made sure that, you know, that they're going to give access to all of those people who are not really able to speak and they're not really able to communicate as well. So they developed an application for all of those people who are out there. Total population of people who are actually deaf or who cannot speak, ladies and gentlemen, is far beyond the 72 million people as well. More than 300 sign languages exist, and today is the day when we talk about them, and we really need to make sure that they get that status of inclusivity, and this is something which we are talking about. This is something which we want to see within this society, and we have to play a role, ladies and gentlemen, and it needs to be a very positive one as well. So first up, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by the CEO of Deaf Talk. He happens to be visually impaired as well, but imagine the courage, imagine the dedication, imagine the passion that they actually wanted to communicate, and they developed an application for themselves and for people out there. He is the one and only Mr. Ali Shaba. Hello, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum salam, Shahzad Saab, and Shahzad. It's always super excited to be part of this group and talking to you.
It's been a year.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us, Ali. It's wonderful to have you, and you know, it's likewise whenever a guest actually says that to us, that we feel so great to be on our show. It's we feel privileged. Thank you very much. Our entire team feels privileged as well. And alongside Mr. Ali Shabar, ladies and gentlemen, we've actually been joined by somebody who is the Chief Technology Officer for Deaf Talk. He's hearing impaired. But imagine that the skill he's got is that he just reads your lip and he understands, but there's another surprise to it as well, of which I'm going to introduce after.
Just one thing I want to add before we actually, you know, do say hi to him as well. So he spent most of his life in the US, and of course he was learning sign language there. So when he did realize he was privileged in terms of, you know, as compared to Pakistani people who were deaf and didn't know the language, he came back to Pakistan to actually, you know, create this app because he was a software engineer and then provide them with the same facilities. How amazing is that?
Amazing it is. So ladies and gentlemen, we're definitely looking forward to taking inspiration from these gentlemen as well. He is Mr. Bamik Hassan. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. And last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, well, I'm not going to say ever since I was growing up, but this lady, ladies and gentlemen, I think has played a very important role in the life of all of those people who were actually unable to communicate within Pakistan or are unable to watch television channels just because of the fact that there were no sign language translators. And the story is very interesting because she was actually born to parents who were deaf, and the mother language, I think, is the sign language of this lady as well, ladies and gentlemen. Very quickly, we're very thankful that she's actually taken our time and that she's actually going to be a translator today as well, and she's going to share her story of how she learned her sign language and how sign language has actually helped her have her own career as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we have actually been joined by Miss Falaknaz. Hello, assalamu alaikum, kaisi hain aap?
Fine, Allah ka shukr.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you, but I think I'm going to get my conversation started with Miss Falak over here. आपसे जो मैं सवाल आज पूछना चाहता हूँ वो ये है कि आप उन वालिदैन के पास पैदा हुई अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह जो ना बोल सकते थे ना सुन सकते थे, और आपकी जो पहली ज़ुबान थी जो आपने सीखी थी वो साइन लैंग्वेज थी, वो साइन लैंग्वेज. So how was the experience overall growing up with these parents and then having a career of your own just because of the fact that the mother tongue you had to yourself is actually going to be so fruitful or bearing fruit for you?
First of all, I would like to thank Allah and like to thank your team who was give me opportunity to come there. And I am interested in sign language because my parents were deaf persons, or then they were, it's just like a Pathan speak Pashto in his home, and Punjabi speak Punjabi in his home. Similarly, sign language is my home language, and I'm using sign language not professionally, but it is a pain in my life. And जहाँ तक आप बात कर रहे हैं कि जी इस तरीके से मैंने कहाँ से क्या दर्द था, क्या तकलीफ़ थी हमें, क्योंकि घर में हमें माँ बाप ने, आई प्राउड ऑफ माई पेरेंट्स के उन्होंने कभी हमें इस चीज़ का एहसास नहीं होने दिया कि हम लोग डेफ हैं। उन्होंने हमें पढ़ाया लिखाया, हमें हर चीज़ हमें प्रोवाइड की। लेकिन अफसोस की बात ये थी कि उनकी जो माशरे में एक बात को समझने का अंदाज़ था, वो उस तरह का उनको रिस्पांस नहीं मिल सका। जिस तरह हम डॉक्टर के पास जाते थे, कोई बात कम्युनिकेट करनी होती थी या कुछ इस तरीके से, तो वहाँ पे साइन इंटरप्रेटर मौजूद नहीं होता था। इसी तरीके से वहाँ पे मतलब जब हम टीचिंग का होता था या कोई पढ़ स्कूल डाला या कुछ भी किया, तो साइन लैंग्वेज को समझने वाला कोई नहीं होता था। लेकिन जब हम बड़े हुए तो जो है हमें जो मतलब इस चीज़ का एहसास जो हमें पढ़ाई की वजह से हमें एक हिम्मत मिली। आज हम जो कुछ भी हैं अपने पेरेंट्स की वजह से हैं, कि उनकी वजह से हमें जो है आज माशाल्लाह से जिस प्लेटफॉर्म पे आई स्टैंड ऑन टुडे, तो it's
Mashallah, and we are lucky to have you as our team member as well. Ladies and gentlemen, what Ms. Falak is actually trying to share with us is that she's saying that it wasn't really easy for their parents, obviously, and she said that, you know, obviously her parents actually tried to give them the best education, you know, the best kind of whatever they can for their kids, but then they felt bad for their parents because, you know, if they will go to the doctor, if they'll go out somewhere, you know, in public, they weren't able to communicate with other people because there were no translators, whether in the hospitals or whether in any public office as well, which obviously had a lot of repercussions to them as well, and then they had to go through quite a lot as well. But eventually, she's very thankful, alhamdulillah, and this is that one point where today, ladies and gentlemen, everybody needs to come together, that because we're talking about having an inclusive society, so I think having a few courses of sign languages while you're studying in school or college or university will actually help to include all of these people as members of the society.
Right, and Shazad, you know what, to be that element of change, like Falak already mentioned her story, she didn't feel that anyone from outside was going to come and help the parents, right? So she became that element of change at a very early age.
Wow.
I think she was in her teens, 14 or 15, when the first time she started, you know, doing events or doing news or something with sign language.
Wow.
And one more thing, PTV happens to be the first channel in Pakistan to actually twice air bulletins with sign language interpreters as well. I think that's brilliant.
And the only channel as well.
Yeah, so far the only channel as well. We will definitely get back to that, how your experience has been. But before that, I want to move to Mr. Ali over here. So last time you guys came, your app was doing amazing, mashallah. It just actually started off, but the response was amazing. So first of all, you let me know, when you hear the response of the people whose lives you have changed, how does it feel?
It's always be a very proud feeling that what we are doing, it's something meaningful in the society.
Yeah.
Because most of the time we are developing our careers, our personalities, our grooming, but we forget to reflect back our community.
Right.
So it gives us, you can say, a proud movement. It gives us something very satisfactory movement that we are reflecting back to our society. We are contributing to a pertinent cause, which ultimately bring a positive change in future, inshallah.
Exactly. So very quickly, I think what we're going to request you to do is that if you can let everybody out there, because there are a lot of people who are watching you. We are being watched in 40 or more than 40 countries as well, all over the world. What is Deaf Talk? What does the application do, and what is the magic in it?
Oh, great. Deaf Talk, from the word, it clearly suggests we are working for the empowerment of deaf community.
Yeah.
Okay.
As you mentioned earlier, how you imagine if you visit to a doctor but unable to explain the pain.
Exactly.
Moreover, you are in a classroom, unable to understand what the teacher is talking on, even communicating with the relatives, with the shopkeepers in the community. It's always be a communicational barrier facing by deaf community every single day in their life.
Yeah.
And Deaf Talk is bridging that gap by providing digital sign language services.
Yeah.
It's a mobile-based app. We usually say that it's a marketplace. We will connect deaf users with our certified sign language interpreters. Currently, we have around 17,000 plus users in Pakistan. We have 900 plus sign language interpreters. And we are bridging their communication gap. Now they can easily communicate with doctors, they can easily communicate with their relatives, with the shopkeepers, whatever they want to. So we are making their decision making on the palm of their hands.
That's brilliant.
This is brilliant, and this is great as well. And I definitely would love to know that, you know, how many members you had previously when you were on the show, and how much progression there's been within the users of Deaf Talk. But very quickly, is this application for free, or the services which you're providing are they for free, or do you charge a minimum amount?
It's a very, you can say it's a very bearable amount because of the social economic condition of the deaf community in Pakistan. We not charge high. It's just a mere support, which we directly support to the interpreters, because they are there giving their times, and it gives an extra impression to develop that industry. So people not taking as the industry, now they are taking that interest to learn sign language. So and if they are providing that services for 4 hours a day, he and she can easily earn 25,000 per month. So that's one amount, and through that they are providing lot of benefit to thousands of deaf community, and for them 100 rupees is not a big amount.
Well,
Absolutely,
wonderful. But very quickly, I know Shiza that you have a question, but I'm sorry that I'll have to ask this little harder question as well.
Sure,
and that is that, you know, just at the start of the show you said that you want to reflect upon the society and you want to give them something as well. Why are you giving them something alongside charging them money as well? Because you wanted to reflect, right?
So it's okay. Yeah, please carry on. Then I will answer. Yeah.
Actually, it's always a matter that if you want to sustain a quality service, it will be some sort of payment modules. Otherwise,
Definitely.
you cannot sustain.
Yep.
1 time, 2 times, maybe a year time, you can provide that services.
Yeah.
But if there is not a revenue stream, the services will not sustain.
Exactly.
Right.
And in order to make that services sustainable for the deaf community, and it's a need for the deaf community,
Exactly.
so it has to be a one-off payments which they can easily afford. That's
Yes.
one part.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ali, and I think for the people that you are going to hire for your app as well, they need an incentive too to, you know, provide best services. So yes, it's justified. But now moving on to Vamik. So ladies and gentlemen, he is amazing with reading lips, but I would request Falak to please, please also make sign language so maybe he can understand for all the people watching as well.
Yeah.
So, this is your app
This is sign
itself.
language, right?
Your app is amazing to help people. But talk about inclusivity. लोगों को अगर हम include करना चाहें, तो क्या-क्या suggestions आप देंगे society में हम क्या बदलाव ला सकते हैं? What are the things that we can change in the society to make everyone feel included?
Okay. First of all, inclusivity is one of the biggest goals that we want to create, because we want every single deaf community to feel like they're part of the society and not left out. So we have developed the app to help them to facilitate to communicate with the hospital, job interviews or educational institute, so they can have an access to whatever the facility they require to live independently. So that's one of the biggest points of inclusivity that we want to create and raise awareness around the society, and especially in corporate and development sector.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
That's wonderful. But Vamik, I have a very different question for you, and
Thank you.
it is different because of the fact that obviously, I'm not sure why I'm asking very different questions as well. But first of all, I'm going to come back to where I actually posed a harder question towards Mr. Ali as well. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, that when there are people who are visually impaired or people who are deaf, first of all, obviously, it's a great service to them.
Yeah.
And then there are more than 9,000 people who happen to be translators, and they're making 25,000 to 30,000 a month. I think that they're actually generating a good living off it as well. So obviously there needs to be a business model, and I think that they have did the right thing by asking for a meager amount of money for the kind of services they are providing. I think that's one answer. But for you, you were in United States of America, you were learning over there. You happen to be an engineer too as well. You've learned the language. Why would you want to come back and do such a thing?
Okay, well, actually I was in Pakistan, and the biggest challenge was that there were no interpreters, and that were my parents, and I felt really bad, and we decided to move to the US because of sign language. So after the graduation, I went back to Pakistan, only to realize that there were millions of people who do not have education because there were no interpreters. And that were my feeling for the deaf community changed, because I feel like not everyone can afford to go to the US.
Yes.
And I believe in doing something good for the deaf community, and that's why we have built a platform for them to enable them to live independently and thrive.
It's wonderful. And whenever we speak about living independently, we actually think about having a partner in life as well. Have you ever come across a partner? Have you gotten married yourself?
Yeah,
you're married, mashallah. So how do you guys communicate, having that independence to yourself? How do you guys communicate? How do you tell her that you love her? How do you tell I'm not sure whether you have kids or not. Do you have kids?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No, I don't have children.
You don't have children as of
Not
now.
yet.
Obviously, he just got married. I'm very sorry that I'm asking you this and I'm putting you in this position. But how do you tell your wife that you love her so much? And
Well,
all of these things?
actually, my wife is very open-minded about exploring how deaf people live, and she was really happy to be part of my life.
Wow.
And between me and her, the communication wasn't easy like how we normally communicate, because I'm actually
You can talk.
learn how to talk and listen at the same time when I was in the U.S. And because of that, it was easy.
But if you are to say something to her today on television, look into the
Okay,
camera, tell her that you love her a lot and that you're happy to have her in your life.
Okay, so
And with sign language as
I'm
well.
really,
In sign language as
yeah, so, okay, I'm really happy to have you in part of my life, and inshallah we will have a great future together.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Wonderful, man.
That's
This is
brilliant.
cute.
Mashallah.
This is cute.
So here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, every other time we talk about inclusivity, but to actually realize the dream is I don't know how far away we are from that, but yes, we are definitely headed in the right direction. So I just learned few, I want to say weeks ago or something, there is a fast food chain in Rawalpindi, one that I know of for sure, that does recruit deaf people as their employees.
Exactly.
I have no idea if that's happening in other cities as well. I want to ask you, Ali,
It's
if
happening
it's
in Lahore
happening.
as well, and I
Right.
think that we actually need to mention the chain's name as well.
Yes,
It's KFC,
it's
ladies and
KFC.
gentlemen. So in Lahore, in Rawalpindi, and everywhere else, they have actually hired people, recruited them for services as well. People who are deaf or visually impaired.
Right. So also, Ali, you educated me early in the morning about the cabinet meeting about, making a national or standard sign language as well. Please let us know the details about that, what is going to happen in the future, and how do you think we can incorporate, teaching sign language at early age to schools?
Sure. As a preamble of it, disclaimer of it, that in Pakistan we don't have a national sign language,
Yes.
and that's the biggest challenge for a deaf dog, and the interpretation services is that part, because a language who is in signage in Karachi is a part different. The language in signage is spoken in Peshawar or KP. And that's how the difference is. And it is very difficult for develop that standardization, training of interpreters, and producing a right amount of supply side of interpreters who, in order to cater the needs of deaf community in Pakistan. And that was one of the great steps taken by this cabinet. And a bill was passed that which was on the rights of persons with disabilities, and one article or clause was that standardization of sign language in Pakistan. It will definitely help different institutes, particularly the National University of Modern Languages and different other institutes who are working on the languages interpretation, introduce that course in order to develop that supply side of interpreters. More importantly, the other side of it, that as you said, that from where we can start, from the schools we can start.
Yes.
As in Pakistan and globally, we see and witness that there are language classes. You can see in Pakistan, most of the schools now teaching Chinese because of the CPAC, which is a good part. Why not a sign language?
Yeah, I agree with you. But Ali, I think we did speak about this earlier as well. There are some institutions which are now going to have teachers who will depart knowledge or, have courses for people who are deaf. They will teach in sign languages. Let us know the institutions and how we can make this a national thing.
Yeah, there are a lot of institutes currently in Pakistan, particularly the bigger prime example is of Deaf Reach.
Yes.
They have almost 7 branches across Pakistan, and empowering the education knowledge to the deaf community from the age group of kindergarten. And now they have the postgraduate colleges as well.
Oh, wow.
So that's one of the important elements. Then the other is the government schools, which called special education centers. DGSC is one of the biggest directorate who are facilitating that part and providing that sign language interpretation. But most important element is the higher education, the professional education.
Which can land you something corporate.
Yes, university still needs to incorporate, like the university, the key important universities in Islamabad and Lahore and Karachi.
Yes.
They don't have that incorporation for inclusivity. And for that, Wamik needs to go to US for his software engineering, and he's the first deaf in Pakistan. Because
to become
of
a
that.
software engineer,
because
right?
of he did the software engineering because the professional education, the higher degrees, are not sign language inclusive.
Oh, that's really unfortunate, but I
Yeah.
really hope that we do sort of, meet those basic needs. Like you said, Vamik, or people like Vamik, if they want to receive a better education, have a good degree or anything,
Yeah.
they will have to look for options outside of the country. So why can't we, being a part of the country, provide them with something that is as good, in its standards as they would receive something from outside?
Exactly, Shiza, thank you very much. And I think, Ali, thank you very much for raising this point as well. But at this point of time, ladies and gentlemen, I actually want to take out a minute and thank Mr. Vamik's parents as well, because imagine that they had a baby boy who they knew that he cannot listen to what they're trying to say. Imagine, so just to give him the best education. And we never knew that it's going to result in a way where Vamik is going to come back to Pakistan and do something for the betterment of all the other deaf people
It's
as
the
well.
upbringing, man.
So imagine that seed which they sowed, ladies and gentlemen, his parents. I think that it's bearing fruit now.
Yeah.
And I'm getting goosebumps because ladies, gentlemen, to get yourself out of your comfort zone and go to another country, so that just because your kids can do well in life, and imagine that they're doing so well in life that they're actually
Mashallah.
making a change or bringing about a change in millions of other lives as well. But very quickly, I'm going to move on to Falak over here. So Falak, जो मैं आपसे सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ वो ये है कि हमने अभी आपने शुरू में बताया कि हम डॉक्टर के जाते थे या और उनके मसले मसाइल थे when they were on their own, आपके वालिदैन, और क्या मसले मसाइल थे जो पेश आते थे। अगर हम बात करें कि जिन लोगों को सुनाई नहीं देता या कम सुनाई देता है या कम्युनिकेट नहीं कर पाते हैं, अपनी बात बयान नहीं कर पाते हैं किसी से, उनके जहन में तो जैसे हम सोशल एनिमल्स हैं, इंसान खुद भी, हमें आपस में एक दूसरे से गप लगाने की भी आदत होती है, उससे हमारा स्ट्रेस भी हम रिलीव करते हैं। तो क्या और मुश्किलात हैं?
मेरा जो छोटा भाई है वो भी डेफ है, और मेरा क्योंकि इस कम्युनिकेशन में मतलब जो कम्युनिटी इसमें उठना बैठना है, यहाँ पे बहुत से लोग हैं जिनको मतलब अगर बिल का मसला बना हुआ है तो बिजली के ऑफिस जाते हैं, बिल का कुछ मतलब ज़्यादा आ गया या कोई भी बात करनी है तो उसमें भी उनको वहाँ पे इंटरप्रेटर मौजूद नहीं है। और उसके बाद फिर जब कोई कानूनी मसला हो जाता है या कोई इस तरीके से प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है तो वो वहाँ पे भी जाते हैं, थाना कचहरी कहीं भी, कहीं अपनी जायदाद भी अगर कोई ट्रांसफ़र करवानी हो तो वो भी उनके लिए इंटरप्रेटर का होना बहुत ज़रूरी है, वहाँ पे भी इंटरप्रेटर मौजूद नहीं होते। तो मेरा जहाँ तक है कि ज़िंदगी को आसान बनाने के लिए और इन माशरे में इनका हक देने के लिए ज़रूरी है कि इनके लिए इंटरप्रेटर का होना बहुत ज़रूरी है।
Exactly.
और ये बड़ी खुशकिस्मती की बात है कि यहाँ पे पीटीवी न्यूज़ में साइन इंटरप्रेटर का मैं काम कर रही हूँ। इट्स अ वेरी मेरे लिए ऑनरेबल बात है कि इसमें जो दुनिया के जो हुकूमती या मुल्क के जो हालात हैं वो पूरे जो हैं वो साइन लैंग्वेज के साथ, ख़बरनामे के साथ इनको समझ में आ जाते हैं कि जी हमने ये मुल्क में क्या हो रहा है, आज यहाँ क्या हो रहा है, उधर क्या हो रहा है। और ये पहला चैनल है पीटीवी का कि जिसमें इनमें मतलब साइन लैंग्वेज इंटरप्रेटर के साथ इनका महरूमी का एहसास नहीं होता।
MashaAllah. Wonderful as well. For ladies and gentlemen, for everybody who's out there, I posed the question towards Falak, and where I was asking that, okay, she did tell us about, her parents going to the doctor or to anywhere else where there were no interpreters and it was difficult. But what are the other places? Now imagine if somebody has to, go and get a transfer deed done or probably some other things as well. So there are no translators at all. But Falak obviously is very glad that she's actually a part of PTV and that she actually is representing Pakistan's very different side where there are people who can talk in sign language as well, and I think that this is wonderful. But very quickly, Falak, मैं आपसे आपको 4-5 अल्फाज दूंगा और आपने उसकी sign language बतानी है, ठीक है? Because ladies and gentlemen, now what we're going to do is that I'm going to give her some words, and she actually needs to tell us what do we say that particular word in sign language.
Because we are learning like you are.
Because to me, I think that these are the words where even in general, when you talk about these words or these places, it's just a little difficult while you're on the news desk, not aware.
Okay.
So, what do we call cabinet?
Cabinet.
Cabinet. Okay. Okay. Assembly.
Assembly.
Assembly. Okay. Do you?
वज़ीर आज़म इमरान खान.
ये मैच और ऐसे वो क्योंकि मैच खेलते हैं।
Oh, nice. That's so sweet. I like it.
Wow, so it's sign language. Okay. Or now what I want you to share with us is those common 5 different signs which can actually enable us to say our hi hellos to somebody who cannot talk.
5 signs to say hi.
आप कैसे हैं? ठीक हैं?
कैसे हैं?
आप कैसे हैं?
आप कैसे हैं?
ठीक हैं?
ठीक है.
Are you fine?
आप कैसे हैं? ठीक है, है ना?
हाँ.
आप कैसे हैं?
आपने आप इस तरह मतलब आप कभी पानी का ग्लास भी पकड़ें तो वो भी एक साइन हो जाएगा,
Yeah.
पानी
Okay,
पीना।
okay.
हाँ, चाय पीना,
चाय।
हाँ जी, चाय
Yeah.
का इशारा हो गया। और
तो
सूरज का निकलना सुबह है,
अगर मैंने ये
सुबह,
पूछना हो किसी
और
से,
ये रात का है,
ठीक है,
रात
ये
हो
रात
गई,
है,
wow.
ये रात हो
और
गई,
ये सूरज का
ये
इशारा।
सुबह का इशारा।
अगर मैंने किसी से पूछना हो कि आप चाय पियेंगे, तो आप चाय,
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल ठीक
बस
कह रहे हैं।
यही है,
आप चाय पियेंगे,
आप चाय पियेंगे,
पीना पसंद करेंगे, पसंद का हो गया लाइक
पसंद। Alright, wow, that's wonderful. Thank you very much,
Wow.
Palak. You know,
Palak, we're so proud to have you as a
Yeah.
part of the PTV
Thanks a
family.
lot, thanks a
Thank you so much for being actually so cognizant of your responsibilities in your family,
Mashallah.
and then you're serving the nation as
And
well.
being
Thank
so
you
confident.
so much. Yes.
Wonderful.
Thanks
You
a
did
lot.
amazing.
Thanks a lot.
And thank you, Ali Shabar and Wamik Hassan, for being here like last year as well. You guys are a
pleasure.
source of inspiration for not only Pakistanis but for hundreds and thousands of people all across the globe as well. And I think you made Shazad in my morning. You guys were brilliant. Thank you so much for
ladies
being
and
here.
gentlemen, please make sure that you actually download their application, which is with the name of Deaf Talk. It's available on iOS and Android both. And yeah, so make sure that you live an independent life. Only if you can understand. Falak, can you please translate it for all of those people who cannot understand the sign language, so that we can let them know about this application as well. So can we please cut on to Falak? So जो हम जो भी कह रहे हैं आप वो please translate
हाँ.
करके बता दें कि आपने सबको ये बताना है कि प्लीज डेफ टॉक को डाउनलोड करें और डाउनलोड करके अपनी इंडिपेंडेंट जिंदगी,
ठीक है।
हाँ वो कट नहीं हो सकता ना, हम दो इस तरह अलग कट नहीं ले सकते, तो हम अब आपको दिखाते हैं या आप लोगों को बताएं कि डेफ टॉक डाउनलोड करें और इंडिपेंडेंट जिंदगी गुजारें। ऑन टू फलक।
ठीक है, okay.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so what you actually need to do is, क्या हम फलक, yes, what we actually need to do is that we need to download the Deaf Talk application as well. And once you're going to download it, obviously you will feel that independence which you have always missed out on, and that you will feel inclusive, and that you will feel a member of the society. We already feel that you are a member of the society, but at times it's the person himself or herself
Right.
thinking otherwise. So please make sure to download Deaf Talk.
Thank you so much, Palak, for doing that. And thank you, Shazad, for saying that. So, ladies and gentlemen, right now we're headed to a short break. But before that, we're leaving you with a report that will educate you even more about today, that happens to be International Sign Language Day. Let's take a look at it.
Good morning.
The International Day of Sign Languages is a unique opportunity to support and protect the linguistic identity and cultural diversity of all deaf people and other sign language users. In 2020, the World Federation of the Deaf is issuing a Global Leaders Challenge. This challenge aims to promote the use of sign languages by local, national, and global leaders in partnership with National Association of Deaf People in each country. According to the World Federation of the Deaf, there are approximately 72 million deaf people worldwide. More than 80% of them live in developing countries. Collectively, they use more than 300 different sign languages. There is also an international sign language which is used by deaf people in international meetings and informally when traveling and socializing. It is considered a pidgin form of language that is not as complex as natural sign language and has a limited lexicon. The proposal of the day came from the World Federation of Deaf, a federation of deaf people representing approximately 70 million deaf people's human rights worldwide. It recognizes the importance of preserving sign languages as part of linguistic and cultural diversity. It also emphasizes the principle of nothing about us without us in terms of working with deaf community.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Well this morning with Shazad Khan and Shiza Hashmi, where today we happen to be the students over here. We're learning a lot, right?
Yeah.
But in this segment, we are going to talk about something different other than what the day we're observing today, but it's so important. Here's the thing. We have been going through the pandemic, not only Pakistan, all the countries in the world, since more than 4 months now. It started, I mean, on a massive scale in March, but we're not out of it yet. While, yes, we did, escape the first wave and came out of it stronger and actually set examples for everyone out there to learn from Pakistan how to cope with the pandemic. But unfortunately, the bad news is it's coming back, and I don't think we're ready for it.
It's coming back as well, ladies and gentlemen, and I think that we'll actually have to look around the world as well, where England is probably going under a lockdown once again as well.
Oh, no.
And it's all because of the fact that we are not taking precautions as we were earlier. And I think that the media used to actually hammer it onto us as well, and that only then we realized that, this is real. And, since I have gone through it myself as well, and I hope and pray that nobody actually has to go through it
And
again.
can you believe that there are still some people who would believe that this is a conspiracy? It's
Exactly.
not real. Please, if you don't want to be sane enough for your own self, at least be responsible and sane for the people around you, because it's a virus. I mean, that's what it means. It's going to spread on to other people as well.
And
Please
there
be
are four
careful.
types of people, ladies and gentlemen, amidst this COVID-19 as well. We have a picture which we will share with you
Yes.
of those 4 types of people as well. But before we do that, very quickly, we actually have been joined by a medical specialist from PIMS, ladies and gentlemen. He is Mr. Dr. Wasim Khwaja Sahab. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Good morning.
Walaikum salam.
A
Good
very
morning,
warm
sir.
welcome.
Thank you,
so,
sir.
sir. I'm
Thank
not
you.
going to ask you a lengthy question. All I need to know is this second wave for real? Is it coming? Do we really have to start taking all of those precautions again and stick ourselves to homes?
Yes, Bill, you are very right. It's very right. And again, the people are coming. Children are also coming in the school also. And Pindi, Islamabad also. Within last 2 days, 54 more cases have been
In 2
positive.
days?
2 days. 2 days and with 24 hours. And I will request all the person, you don't have any sign symptoms.
Yes.
90% have no sign symptom, but if they check, there is a positive case. And you must follow the preventive measures, SOPs, as the government is advised. You must follow, even there is no symptom, but you have to follow, because you have mask and your gloves, and also distance should be there. And when you go to anything you want to buy, there should be distance. Also in the school, there should be distance. And now last 24 hours, there are also school persons also,
Yes.
staff also, students also. And if God bless, if more patients from school, then we have to close the school also.
God forbid.
So,
I
and
hope we don't do it.
people should follow the preventive measures and the balanced diet. Wheat, meat, rice, milk, these things, vegetable, fruits, and must follow the Islamic ways, so that they should be out
Right.
of
I
this
think it's in
disease.
people's hand, like you very rightly said. We are the ones who have to follow this, because, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot afford to shut down the country once again. We cannot afford that economically, of course, and otherwise too. I mean, the loss of education we've had over the past few months, the loss of productivity in terms of the corporate sector, and of course the economy, like I already mentioned, we cannot afford to do that again. So now the onus and the responsibility is lying on your shoulders. Can you believe that? It's not the government or the state or the authorities who are in charge anymore. It's you, the general public. So please take up the responsibility wisely.
Exactly. And ladies and gentlemen, since I've mentioned it at the beginning of this segment as well, that I've gone through it as well. And imagine that when I was traveling, I got back 14-day, I had to quarantine then. And once I got the COVID, I had to quarantine for 21 days as well. Because in some cases it takes 14 days, in some cases it takes 21, in some it takes 28 as well. So it's loss of all the amount of work we actually have to do as well, because unfortunately, there are all the other stresses and reasons which make you work. Otherwise, if I think everybody had everything to their disposal, nobody would have been working, everybody would have been enjoying. And then being in that room all by yourself, you don't want to do that. But if you don't want to do that, you need to have this realization that you will actually have to follow all the SOPs. Otherwise, God forbid, it can be very dangerous for the entire nation, not just for yourself.
Yes.
But sir, what I want to ask over here is that there's this dialogue going on. And if I'm going to back it with research, so in UK, the first person who actually got reinfected was after 3 months or 6 months as well. But over here in Pakistan, we haven't really heard, or we haven't really got a registered case where a person actually got it in the first place and then got it the second time as well. And the reason being is that majority of the people didn't get themselves tested because
Yes.
they didn't really want to be under that stress.
Yes.
And now they don't know whether it's the second time or the first time as well.
Yes.
So does it happen to people the second time as well for somebody who's actually contracted the virus in the first place and has recovered from it?
Yes, only I have known about one person from Lahore. He was positive, and then again after few months also.
So there is a
positive.
probability of
The
infection.
probability is there,
Okay.
especially if no symptoms, positive, then immune system is not strong, then chances are there. And if very serious, then recover, then immune system is very strong.
Okay, but sir, just to clear my head, and that is that, since I was studying quite a lot about it, so they say that if the person is asymptomatic and there are no symptoms, the person cannot actually transfer the disease to anybody else, because once the body starts to react to that virus, that's when actually, you
basically
kind of
if there is cough, sneezing,
Yeah.
and then hand is not washed, sneezing, the virus come here and then make hands, and then otherwise don't wash hands, and then it can transmit. And if distance is not there and cough, through the cough it can transmit.
Exactly.
Main you have to follow SOPs,
Yes.
and also the balanced diet.
And
So
masks
immune
are
system,
not going anywhere,
immune
ladies
system
and
strong.
gentlemen.
If virus enters, immune system strong, then nothing will happen.
That's
Exactly.
true. That's absolutely
Exactly,
right.
and ladies and gentlemen, just to make sure that everybody knows it already as well, even though that I might have forgotten a little bit of the detail, but yes, I can recall it. So all we need to do is that we need to take all kinds of vitamins, ladies and gentlemen. Other than the vitamins, we really need to make sure that we are actually having a good fruit intake as well, a good fruit intake, and then other than that, I think that exercise will actually help. And imagine, God forbid, if there is going to be a second wave, I think obviously it's going to be very dangerous as well, but I just do not want myself to not going to the gym, man. Come on.
I know,
I mean, ladies
right?
and gentlemen, we need to follow the SOPs. Otherwise, everything's going to come to a halt. We're not a very rich country. We have a few other problems. So please make sure that
Yeah, I mean,
you
we already-
cooperate and follow all the SOPs.
We already saw the world stop for once. We don't want to see that again. So please be careful. Also, one more thing. Since it's going to come back, Shazad, how there was sort of a trend of whatever you see on the WhatsApp, you're going to try it.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I mean, all different types of teas, different types of
Yeah,
herbs
what was
and
the name-
whatnot.
what was the name of that
Cinnamaki,
too?
man.
Ah, cinnamaki, yeah.
And then after 1 week, you're learning that you should intake cinnamaki, and I'm doing a lot of it because even you said.
Yeah.
And the next week, you learn it's not healthy enough. So please be sure, consult your doctor because he's
Exactly.
the expert over here. But Shazad, in the earlier this segment, you were mentioning something about
A
different
picture.
types of people.
Yeah. So these are the different types of people, because, ladies and gentlemen, when COVID came in, nobody was actually of the thought that, okay, that it's for real. Everybody thought that it's a controversy. And then there were people who were taking it very seriously. Then there were people who were like, okay, you know what?
Whatever.
We believe in magic or something. So we have 4 types of people. I mean, it's not even 4 types of people. It's the reaction people will have to COVID as well. So the first one, where the person is actually wearing a mask, says believes in science. So he wears the mask. He makes sure that he's following all the SOPs as well. Then a person right next to him is the one who actually does not believe in science. So he's not wearing a mask at all. And then underneath the person with the mask, ladies and gentlemen, we have somebody who does not understand science. So he covers his mouth, but he does not cover his nose. And then towards the end, there's this person who wears a mask but does not cover his face, does not cover his nose, and he believes in magic. He's like,
Shazad.
if it's my chin covering, if my chin's got the mask on, I think I'm safe and sound.
But you know what we need to do, Shazad? Probably we'll do it tomorrow. We'll take masks and we'll tell people how to wear them, because apparently this happens to be something so difficult, people don't know how to actually wear them properly.
Yeah, the reason to share this picture, ladies and gentlemen, was so that you actually know that everybody needs to be an avid believer of science and cover their nose and the mouth with the mask. Don't touch your face. And God forbid, if you're in a bad habit of touching your face, just make sure that you actually mix a little bit of Tabasco with your sanitizer, and you will know that you actually do not have to touch your face as well.
Burn. Well, that was on a lighter note.
Yes.
So yeah, Dr. Saab, now towards the end, I want you to very quickly tell us, are the hospitals or public spaces ready for a second wave?
Yes, especially PIMS and all hospitals. We have more than 300 beds, and if more patients we can manage, doctors, nurses, paramedical staff, they are high alert for 24 hours for any case. Ventilators also we are make ready. Any patient serious will use ventilators, and admission is 24 hours open.
Thank you so much
But
for
sir,
being the hero that we need, especially in the pandemic as well.
Yeah,
You're right.
but very quickly, one last question. That is that when the first wave of COVID came in, we were in conversation with a lot of doctors and people who are the caretakers of the health of the entire nation. They said that Islamabad roughly had 56 ventilators, out of which 52 were working. If I'm wrong, you please may correct me as well. But once we had this wave, and then there were a lot of people asking for a lot of ventilators as well. So have we got an increased number as of now, or we are still at 52 or 56?
Yes, we have got the ventilators.
Okay.
There's no problem.
How many have we got?
In PIMS, there are more than 25.
All
but
right.
the thing is, on ventilators, 99% can't be saved.
Okay.
You have the safe thing is or depends upon the person to
Exactly.
follow the SOPs. They shouldn't go for admission, not go for ventilator.
Exactly.
99% can't live on ventilators.
Exactly.
So main thing is preventive measures.
Preventive
So
measures.
follow
Yes.
SOPs,
So
balanced
important.
diet and exercise. What you said, they should follow that thing.
Thank you very much, sir.
Don't relax that we go on the ventilator and will be safe. No.
No. So the people who've actually moved on to ventilator, ladies and gentlemen, it becomes more dangerous for them, and and the life is in danger as well. Only 1% people who actually make it out of the ventilator. But hey, you know what? This should actually scare us, because all we need to do is take all the preventive measures and make sure that we do not land in a situation where we actually have to look for a ventilator. That's what Dr. Saab is saying. But thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation. For all of those people who might have gotten positive, please make sure that you have this pulse oximeter at your place. That's one very important device which is actually going to let you know about the oxygen saturation in your blood. It needs to be above 95 all the time, but if it drops to 90 or below 90, that's the time when you actually need to look for oxygen. Or go to a hospital and ask the doctor. This is one most important thing everybody needs to keep in their mind.
And there are no general or standard patterns. Different people are getting different symptoms. So make sure to just go to the expert, to get the expert's opinion rather, or go to the doctor to let him let you know that, the things that you should carry out to be safe as well. Sorry, I'm stuttering as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you learned something from our show, because that is the only purpose for us being here early in the morning. Let us know by writing to us on our Facebook page with the name of
World This Morning.
On Twitter.
World This Morning without a G.
On YouTube.
On YouTube, you look for PTV World, and then the most viewed show, which is World This Morning. Shukar, alhamdulillah.
Yes, and the repeat of this one you can catch
5 past midnight, ladies and gentlemen. Till the next time, look after yourselves. The second wave is just around the corner. Only if we will follow all the SOPs,
we can turn it back.
We will be able to turn it back. Please look after yourselves. Remember us all in your prayers. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
Stay safe.